Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Television 2 video. Today on on Lenina. What a disgusting map. But if we don't need to play it, but can watch it, that's, I think, perfectly fine. We have Herr Robert versus Avalser here, game 2 of the May Open Tournament. It is Axis versus Allies, and it's all just divisions that were fighting in the southern parts of Europe, be it Western or Eastern. And yeah, I mean, this map is most people hate it, but Herr Robert actually likes it, which I guess is the reason why we are on this map. But I'm not disappointed about that at all, because again, we hardly ever see it, so it's not too bad to see it. I think it's actually one of the first maps that I casted when I started. Not the first one, but one of the first. But anyway, I think we're just going to go to the decks. We do have Herr Robert playing 8 Indian on a balanced income, and we do have Avalser playing 715th Infantry on a V for a victory. And we start off with 8th Indian Infantry. This division we hardly ever see because it's very mid. It's very mid, if not actually rather bad. Let's be honest about that. It's just we're gonna see it. A recon type, he brings the 50 cal jeeps. This is a very odd choice. It can kind of work, but considering that 715 has a good amount of light armor itself, in A phase at least, because the good thing about those is they're great for rushing if your opponent doesn't really have a lot of things that can deal with that. They can really overwhelm quite nicely, especially if you compare them with something like an M8, but 8th Indian doesn't have M8s. So I'm surprised about that. Then the Autocar M3, this thing is actually pretty good. Get an AT gun, shoots HE as well, has 50 cal, 35 points. Not too bad. And then Hummers and Beavers for all the light armor spam. I guess it kind of makes sense. You don't really have a lot of light armor. Other than that, you don't have any light armor in the tank tab, which is really bad. So you might want to spam these around, but they're not that good, really. Infantry tab, you have a lot of these Indian units, and they're just not as good as they probably should be. Indian Field Engineers and Indian Assault Pioneers are just the regular Field Engineers and Assault Pioneers. They do have Radar, which is nice, but that's all there is to it. Then at the Gurkha Rifles, it's kind of a hybrid unit with the loadout, but they don't have anything that really supports on CQC. It has shock, but it's just not strong enough at range or CQC. It's basically a rifle speed without the Piat, but I think the Piat is part of what makes a rifle speed actually good. And again, the Gurkhas just don't have enough punch at CQC to be really a hybrid unit. So it can't live up to like something like the Dechma, for example, that we're going to see in a bit in the other deck. And then rifle speed in A phase, I think is do you want to use up all of them in A phase? I don't think so. But anyway, Gurkha Rifles leader, and then we have just rifles in B and C phase together with some more Gurkha Rifles in B phase. Now, it's also a very odd choice. You could bring the Indian Rifles. They are just straight up better because they are chunkier. I think they also have more rifles and they have radar trade, which is useful. So I'm, again, a bit surprised about the choices here, but maybe that's just me. Tank tab, Shermans in A, B, and C phase. They usually don't have anything else in this tab anyway. Support tab, Mortars, Vickers in A and B phase, and the Sherman 1B for some nice 2k support, but it's not the one with the heat gels. AT tab, 17 pounds, lots of them. That makes sense. He needs them against the Tigers that we will probably see from 715th. A tab, Crusader, and then Bofors, nothing wrong with that either. Artillery tab, Spotters for some actual infantry recon. Off map, which is of course pretty useful on this map. This is one of the maps for off map, really. And then the 114. You don't want to go super artillery heavy because Lorraine's just gonna counter battery everything to death anyway. So I think it's very smart of him to actually hold back here a little bit. He brings it with ammo too. Air tab, Spitfire, fighter bomber as well. Kind of makes the Spitfire the fighter redundant in my opinion, because the fighter bomber is actually still pretty fast. Then the Boston and the Hurricane. Hurricane might also be very much needed here, so we're going to probably see some air spam happening as well, which is not too bad. Hurricane, though, again, I think is just going to struggle. It's not that good, unfortunately. And on the other side, you have 715th, one of the more well-rounded division of the Axis side. Pretty nice division too. And I see some interesting choices already, so let's get into it. So in the recon, we do have the SPL 204, which is good against half-tracks and such. I'm not so sure how much it can actually do in this matchup, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Then 20mm recon car, Panzer 2F. No actual recon units in A, but yes, the Beobachter in the artillery tab to make up for that. Then Decimal Exploratori, pretty nice unit, Berettas, TNT, Commando, what's more to want, infantry tab. Then we have the Grenadier 15W, which is actually pretty nice. It's a 9-man squad. For MG34, yes, it's the Sun, but it's 15 points. You get 12 of them. You can spam them around, and you can kind of mix them in with your regular infantry, and you just get a lot of firepower from it. It's a pretty nice leader. Luftwaffejäger, it's an okay hybrid unit. Not too strong, but not terrible. Then Pioneer 15W, you get some more Pioneers, also not the worst thing that could happen to you. And then the Panzergren 41, one man more, one more rifle, I think. MG34 though, instead of 42, so not phenomenal. Not a leader, so leadership is valid here, I guess. And then more Panzergrens. Detschuma DT in C phase, so we don't see the regular Detschuma in any of the phases. The DT1 has an automatic rifle. Some people value that over the MG42 that the regular one gets. That's totally fine as well. Also pretty good. I mean, you do have tons of Berettas again, Commando, so it's pretty good. And then the tank tab, also not too bad for this map and matchup, actually. You do have the Stuks, which are kind of main town, but the Tiger, usually not the thing that you want to bring into town if your opponent has only Shermans in a tank tab and no tank destroyers, and also not that many Piats in the infantry tab. Then this thing is actually pretty dangerous all of a sudden. So it is just a nice combination in this matchup that comes together that really allows this thing to be used in the town. It's still dangerous because of AT guns and whatnot, but I can see some issues there. Supporter MG42 Sturmpanzer A, interesting choice because you only get one. You could take IG-33 snipers and you get more of them and then the Sturmpanzer later, but it doesn't do it that way. Commander definitely makes sense if you have this many leaders and then a lot of ammo. I think this is way overkill. You don't need that much ammo for a tournament game. It's 15-minute time limit. I think 4 and B would usually do the trick, but I guess Avalser disagrees on that. AT tab, Panzerschreck, Marder 3, also quite nice here to deal up to those Shermans, and then the Pack 40s in B phase. A tab actually quite filled as well with STK Z71 and then at the Flak 264, so 75 mil. It's not that good of an AA piece, so I'm curious why he takes it. It's also not the most phenomenal support or AT gun either, and I think it's 750 meter range. So I don't know. Flag 46 in C phase at Dolvet, of course, which is pretty nice though. Artillery tab, Beobachter for the actual recon. Then the 120s in A. 4 of them, I think it's a little bit of overkill, especially at this price. Personally, I'm a huge fan of those. I think the 81 mils are just usually better, because they fire a bit faster and are more accurate. The accuracy is really what lets the 120 down, because the rest of the stats are pretty good. But the accuracy, it's just not that good. You get a lot of range, but you can't really use it. And then the Lorraine, I mean, the Lorraine is fantastic. It needs no introduction. You don't need another actual artillery piece in this in a tournament game, because the RT war is not going to be that massive than any more than that. Air tab, a recon, Fogger Wolf 190, and then the DO 217 with a pretty decent bomb loadout in C phase. So a lot of air spam is going to happen here as well. And here we are again. Let's look at the deployment as always, and we start in the south where we actually see something very interesting, and this is one of the rare cases which I find actually pretty amazing, where you can use the amphibious units. Right, this is an amphibious unit, the Schwimmwagen, with a 20 mil, and he uses it to push across here, which is pretty cool. Doesn't happen on a lot of maps, but there are some river maps where you can use this kind of vehicles, but even then you hardly ever see them used. So it's pretty exciting actually that one is being used right here. Love to see that. And this is one of the spots where it's hard for blue to push across unless you really want to drive all the way here. You can do it. You can try to push here. I had this discussion, I think, with Koenig at some point. It is possible. You have to commit a lot. You cannot really resupply it. It is just a pain. But more importantly, resupplying this flag is really tough. So if you have amphibious units, it's actually pretty handy. On the other side, we do have just some assault pioneers chilling in this flag here, trying to defend that. So, I mean, the good thing for them or for Herr Robert here is he can basically tug in right here and they can still hold the flag because I think they do have Raider trade because they're Indian. Sold and all the Indian units, I think, have Raider. Might be wrong though. We'll have to double check. And then just a Grenadier to hold. Unload here. This one needs to walk across and hold this, I guess. For the center, this is where all the action is going to be. So for all of you guys who love videos where I don't talk a lot about strategy and whatnot, but just show all the action, this is where it's at, because it's hard to miss a lot of action. You will still miss some probably, but there's usually not that much going on the flanks. Everything is going to be centered around here, and yeah, there's also very often it just turns into a massive grind here with a little bit like little skirmishes here or here, maybe a push on south. Or up north, but those are relatively rare. So it's not surprising that we see the main deployments here. We have a lot of CQC actually, and then some rifle speed as well, some Gurkha rifles as well, and yeah, basically that. The 75mm as well as a Sherman in the center, all, yeah, see, just deploying around this flag here in the center, pushing a little bit further forward. Nothing spectacular. Let's look at this actually first as well. We do see a little push in here. This sometimes happen. I would assume this is... No? Oh, this guy. So it's just one. That looks of it. I mean, that can work, you know, kind of have it there, make your opponent over-invest into this to react because it might not know how much you actually have there. Or if you just have support weapon there, this thing can actually do some work. But otherwise, also defensive deployment in here. And pushing and putting something further forward up here. Also pretty standard. Now, the response from Avalser is he also pushes something across over there. Interesting. I have to guess it's one of these. No, it's something that unloads. I have no clue. We're going to see, I guess. I'm not going to try to find it now. And then also defensive deployment here around the center. Yeah, very defensive actually. Like even back here. But, oh yeah, nice line of sight. Didn't even know that. See, this is what happens when you never play this map because I always quit on it. Because I want to play fun maps, not this, but it's actually pretty nice. As I have to guess, this is the machine gun. It is. And then, of course, on the hill here, this is actually pretty nice. This hill, you can nicely support this part of the town. You can block off this road. It's relatively difficult once you're up there. I don't think you can deny fast transports here. You can't prevent them from getting in there, but you can then kind of support some positions in the town pretty nicely, and you can make sure that later on you cannot really reinforce that. That's pretty cool. There's also some nice line of sights there. Mostly infantry again. We do have here, by the way, the SPW as well. Forgot to mention that. Here we have some Panzer IIF for the town. This is the perfect spot for it, of course. Marder pushing forward aggressively here. Interesting. And that's about it. Up north, again, Schwimmwagen with the 20mm. It's not called like that. It's an Italian one, but it's basically the German Schwimmwagen, I think, with some armor and the 20mm. And it's pushing across. Again, pressuring this flag is pretty nice. I mean, it doesn't even need to grab it. As long as there's something here by Herr Avalser, he can either move it across later on, if it's infantry, or he can just, by killing things off here, make this bubble collapse for a bit, and then Robert actually needs to invest. So that's pretty useful there. Yeah, see the infantry's there, and the machine gun up top of there. So this is where the field engineers might be able to come in handy. Defensive deployment here by this, and then a T-gun up here. This one, okay, actually pushing for support in the town. And I think with that, we're just going to start it right away. I think I've been talking way too long for this relatively boring map, actually. We also see, by the way, that Herr Robert has move orders on all his vehicles, which is pretty nice because these all have the 50 cal, right? These as well. And they would stop shooting if there was a recomplaint, which there is not. But you never know. We also see early AA out, by the way, by Avalser. And this is very reasonable. For once, because 6 Indian has a decent air tap, but also because you know that the one area where you're likely going to be focusing your air force on is this. So bringing AA there early is definitely worth it, right? In many situations, it is debatable. It happens, I would say, decently often that people are not sure whether they should buy AA early on, especially on higher levels. It is very often not actually bought because it is deemed as to be a very expensive thing for a not so sure return. But in this case, I mean, it is so easy to predict that thing's gonna happen here. 13-11 by Herr Robert early on as he grabs this flag, which is relatively easy for him to do. But it's just field engineer, so he doesn't really have a lot of pressure here at the moment. He needs to wait for his infantry to arrive. He does have some supporting units, but one of the problems of this division, of course, you don't have any cheap 50 cals and you don't have any cheap light armor, except for these, but the Brand Carrier really is not that good. Now, down south, the Schwimmwagen is actually... Wait, it cannot cross here? I thought it could. I'm pretty sure this is amphibious. Or maybe it isn't then. Maybe it isn't. Interesting. I thought it was, but I guess it is. No, it is. No, this is also driving in another direction, so it actually isn't. Interesting. Early plane, by the way, coming in. Penning the 17-pounder there. It's actually an expensive unit to lose. Now 20 mil is getting in there. Field engineers falling back. This thing can actually potentially get in there and deal with that 17-pounder, then maybe kill off that rifle spear. But reinforcements are being called in form of a Crusader. The Crusader will probably outgun the 20 mil, I would guess. 13-11 for Herr Robert, still early off-map coming in as well. Dropping right here in the center, that's going to hurt quite a bit. Can he follow up, though? The Brand Carriers are on the way. The SPWs can still deal with them, though. So maybe a little bit too early. He has another one here, but I guess he's already lost some. Down he goes. Sherman can also move in. Infantry can also move in. The options are definitely there. Now, a lot of this is armored, which means that maybe Avalser can move some of them out in time before they die. Oh, he's moving in too early. SPW still gets another kill. Now he might actually still pin his own units. Aufklärpanzer Panzer is also in a good spot. Needs to be careful. Panzerschreck is pinned, which is very crucial. 75 mil finds something as well. I mean, these are also going to be able to do quite a bit of work with the 50 cal. 35 points, it's not cheap, but it is at a point where it's okay. Marder gets a kill on the 75 mil. I'm not really sure. Do they count as... Do they have 8 health for 10? I haven't noticed if it got penned before. Because if it did, that makes sense. Otherwise, that would mean it would have 10 health. Or at least, yeah, it would have made sense if it was killed now. But otherwise, I don't know. And here it got in position, but of course cannot follow up without a 20 mil vehicle. Grenadier here just moving slowly in position. Commander in early. Wow, very interesting. I mean, there's one leader here and he can buff up quite a lot of things. So I get the reason behind that. SKF 1 had to run early 120 in as well. And I mean, I usually hate on the 120s, but in this case, I think it might actually work out well. Because look at how close he can bring it, and relatively safely too. So it makes absolutely sense. Spitfire trying to get in, but yeah, the SKF 1. Oh no, it's not going to be able to spot it. Oh, but it might actually kill it. 20 mil here helps. That matters a lot. It's also next to the leader. So one triple star 20 mil can do quite a bit of damage. Spitfire gets out, but it's very lucky to do so. Next off map follows up right away. Ground is grabbed, no flags though. Meanwhile, up north, the rifles Piet get killed off. Not really sure if they got too aggressive or what they did, but this is definitely a very weird spot. You have to be very careful with where you put your units. You have to put like somewhere here. It's such an annoying spot to deal with. It's annoying for both sides, really. Both defending this and pushing this is very much an annoyance. Focke-Wulf going after the Sherman. Now, this thing has a big loadout. It can definitely do some damage. I don't think he can kill it in one hit, but it will do some damage. Oh, Marder finds a hit on the Crusader there. It's pretty big. Oh, Crusader's on the run. Marder loses line of sight. Oh, carriers, I think, are a little bit too early. And now get encircled. Oh, no. They don't... Oh, could have surrendered the leader and this. But didn't manage to do so. As I guess that 7-1 wastes one of the carriers. Marder can also do it. There we go. Reinforcements are coming in. Command and next to the AA. Yeah, that's going to perform very nice now. Indian assault pioneer is also moving in. I guess I can kind of see the concept of these now, because it is very easy to get shot at in this town. So if you want to get your CQC in safely, maybe it actually makes sense to bring him in those. But these are now coming in, but I think that happened a little bit too late. Also, there's a lot of light armor here still. You can deal with that. Well, not that much actually. You have the Marder still, you have the 20 mils. Now we have a Tiger in the town. Wow. But it kind of makes sense, you know, nothing that this division has can really deal with that up close in terms of armor. Of course, the rifle spear can do it, so you still have to be very careful with this, but you can block out some areas and make 8 Indian work hard for it. Of course, you can also bring a 17-pounder to do that, but that's not the most efficient thing. Another volley coming down. It's going to take a bit. Can quickly check out what's happening elsewhere. Nothing down south, up north, still holding. We do have a an M3 coming in and the rifle spears to take position again. 17-pounder is also ready in position again to deal with anything pushing across. Kills a Panzer II there. Pretty nice. 120 is going after the infantry here and the carrier. Sherman dealing with the M242 over there. Unfortunately, there's no flag to grab there. Sherman goes down to the Tiger, probably. I think so. Not a Panzerschreck coming in. Off map going down though, so all the reinforcements are going to get unloaded and probably pinned again. But the problem is the Tiger, unless this is pinned or otherwise dealt with, the Shermans cannot easily follow up. They can definitely if he pushes across this side. So it's not actually as limiting as you would think. But it's still a problem. Stück here, of course, not pinned, so can deal with the carrier. Carrier cannot surrender things. Oh no, he might be able to, since he got another 20 mil trying to stop it. Can definitely do it. This thing, yeah, can't really surrender things because this is not pinned from the off map. Yeah, the off map is not that good. I didn't know that off map, but I'm not convinced by it. I'm really not. And now the commander is even pushing forward. Wow, that's maybe a little bit too ballsy. What does this thing have? It has a... Oh, this that's a boys AT rifle and a Wren. One of these weird units, but I can't really do anything. Panzerschreck's gonna easily kill that. Spitfire coming for this blob of units right there. It's gonna fly into the SDKFZ, so I might go down here. The commander is not there anymore, so that's lucky for Herr Robert. So maybe it's gonna get out. It does. But that's a lot of luck enough there. Now the Luftwaffe are coming in. They're actually pretty decent for the town. I mean, 25 points is still on the expensive side, but they're chunky. They have SVTs, which actually make this unit quite deadly. Up close with the 4 MP40s. That matters as well. They don't have shock, but that's actually more okay than you would think, interestingly enough. With this unit, it's still, you know, if you want to use it purely for CQC, it still lets you down quite a bit. But as a hybrid unit, it's actually not terrible. And the fanatical is not the best of the traits, but it's like it actually matters. It does make a difference. It's super annoying if you have to actually kill a unit instead of being able to just surrender it, because it means that you cannot ignore it, right? It's just wasting time and resources, and sometimes a lot of ammo too. Oh, Panzerschreck gets a kill on the Sherman there. Push gets... Oh, yeah. Push gets stopped. See, this is one of the annoying parts of this town. It's so it can be really hard to push because you have so many things. They can just sit in buildings where they have a good position, and then they can start just forcing back a push. At the same time, oh, Sherman versus 20 mil should be able to kill that. There we go, down it goes. A nice supporting position to stop some of the infantry here. Tiger could move forward and deal with that. There's nothing that can stop it. Oh, there we go. Tiger is being moved. Sherman might want to disengage on that. Command carrier coming in from I don't know what. Yeah, Sherman might want to run. It's finding the SPW 204, but that's just bait. This is the real price, and you're not going to get that with the Sherman. I mean, technically there's a chance it can pen at this range, but it's not. It's not very high. It's very low, actually. When we, oh no, we can't see. Yeah, there we go. Sherman goes down. Bitfire just circling. I'm not really sure what's going after, but Herr Robert finds another flag up north. It's still 14-10. Or it's 14-10. He holds his flag still. He got this one as well. So he's currently still in a favorable position. But Avalser has the income, and that will start piling up. Now, of course, for the next 10 minutes, or a little bit less actually, Robert will make more points than Avalser. And that still matters. But the problem for Avalser is that... Oh no, I forgot that the Aditi are not actually in B phase. Well, the Aditi... no, how are they called? Decima, sorry. Decima, Esplorator or something like that are there. The recon tab. Oh, I'm not so sure if we're gonna see those. Those are more for pure CQC. The other ones, the Decima in the... yeah, I think I said Aditi, but the Decima in the... that's what I meant. The Decima in the infantry tab are actually more hybridy. But I don't think we're going to see those. Now I can't push. But yeah, so as I said, the annoying part of this map is really just... Yeah, the defending side has such a nice position where they can just sit in all these buildings, just hold. Piats are incredibly useful right here. And yeah, light armor, of course, is a problem but can be dealt with. Now, Indian is probably not the best division for just that map. Yeah, I don't know. Town fights as part of the game, I think a lot of people like, but pure town fights, like big town fights, is probably not something that most people enjoy. There we go, Piats. Rifles Piat find one of these of their Panzer IIs, another one dies to Sherman there, and they're slowly getting broken down. This is the annoying part, but a lot of veterancy if you look at it. Like having the leaders there and the early commander definitely pays off, I feel like. 120 is also being put to work. This is the other thing, right? The other thing about these town fights, big ones, especially Lenina, is it just can outcry your opponent with artillery, and Spitfire trying to go again after the Marder gets a kill this time. It might actually get killed because the SKF Z71 is now at double star. And that matters. 20 mil, still alive. No? Still not. Wow. This thing just refuses to die. And of course off map. Right. I'm actually surprised that we don't see more. I don't know which divisions were banned, of course, but I guess the top ones are. And I think from the not top ones, there's quite a few with a decent amount of off maps. So I'm surprised that we don't see more off maps. Tiger E finding the Sherman. Sherman on the run though. Yeah, this is a part of the problem of this matchup. And this is one of the big problems of Indian. They just, of the 8th Indian Infantry, I think, they just don't have that many tools to deal with those kind of things. They have 6-pounders and 17-pounders, but on a town of this size, it's really hard to use them efficiently. And also specifically this town, there are other towns that are big where you can still use AT guns. This is not really one of them, in my opinion. You can maybe put them like somewhere back here, might be able to get some value out of it, but it's not. It's far from guaranteed. You have like small line of sights here, another one here. It's just not super easy is what I'm getting at, right? And you're in many of these spots, you're in range of other tools, or even like 750 meter autocans and things like that, which is a bit of a problem. Up north, we do get 9033 coming in and 75 mil as well. So this should prevent any further grabbing of this flag. The Panzer Canadian, by the way, secured that. Meanwhile, 120 is doing the work. Yeah, I mean, again, if you can use the 120s at this range, I think they're actually pretty good. But that's kind of the limitation. You shouldn't see them as the, you know, it has a longer range than the 81mm mortar, but it really shouldn't, in my opinion, be used at that range. At that long range, you want to use it in the same range as an 81mm mortar, if not closer, because otherwise the spread is just way too big. But if you bring them up close, they're actually decently accurate, and they have a big blast and a lot of damage, and that can really shine at those ranges. Down south, Pioneer pushing forward, will run into the carrier there. Get stopped Spitfire going for the Panzergren again. I mean, it's not a bad idea to use it while you have it, right? I think this time it's going to go down. Start smoking way early down. It goes down south. We also hear a plane. Yep. Carrier gets killed by the Focke-Wulf. Panzergren, no, Pioneer managed to push forward. The assault Pioneers here might be able to stop that if he pushes into this forest bit, but he might be able to grab this flag. I don't know. Boston will probably get stopped by the 75mm. Maybe not in time. Bfv 109mm goes after the rifles. Could maybe get behind the Boston and shoot it down. Not 100% sure. Maybe not. Maybe still. I'm not really sure what it's doing. It's not evacing. Boston's not evacing either. That's going to be a bit of a problem. Well, now it's forced back. But now it flies towards a Crusader. I don't think the Bfv 109 Focke-Wulf might be able to catch it. No. As it loses distance, it does have... No, it has lost both its bombs. 14-10 for Avalser now as he grabs this flag actually and this one. In the town, meanwhile, some more slaughtering. Sherman struggling against a Stück. Gets a pen still. I mean, this is an important thing to remember. The Stücks are really not that good for town fights. But if it's a very, like, how I say it, if it's a very clear situation of you just, it's mostly a straight line, front line in town, then Stück is actually pretty decent because it has the big armor. You don't need to be bothered about getting side-shotted, about the long time of turning towards your opponent. And in those kind of situations, Stück is pretty decent. It's highly problematic otherwise, which is why it's generally not a good town fighter, but it can be okay in those kind of scenarios. You still have the problem that it doesn't have the fast aiming time of a Sherman, which is why the Sherman is still king of the town in most ways. But it definitely offsets a lot of that quite efficiently, actually. You have Gurkha rifles coming in to secure this. The problem is, I don't think he needs them here. I mean, he can still deal with them at range, I guess. Rifle spear to secure this. This is what he needs. Right here, G33, I guess, finds the autocar. Rifle spear are coming in. If they just chill here, they might be able to do some work there. 120 is still doing the work. Both and Crusader in here, but no artillery on Herr Robert's side. And we're about to reach C phase, which is where Avalser will have an advantage. But it is very small. Right, so I don't think that this will actually be... It adds up. It does add up, but I'm not sure if it's that game deciding. I think if you play better, you can still win with the balanced income. That being said, it depends a lot on the unit composition here. And I think one of the big problems that Herr Robert will run into very soon is that most of his infantry that he gets now does not have Piat. Because this is where the armor mix of Avalser, as unsuited for towns as it might look, is actually going to be a bit of a problem, right? Because the Tiger in towns is very problematic because it still needs to maintain the range, even if your opponent just have Shermans. It's still dangerous for that, you know, because there could be some 6-pounders around or whatnot, but it's not that dangerous anymore, I would say, if you just have the Shermans. But what's really dangerous still are all these Piats everywhere. But if they're not present, that Tiger might be able to dominate quite a bit, and that's going to be a problem. And if I remember correctly, Herr Robert does not have any 80 infantry otherwise in his deck, right? He didn't take the Pia team or anything like that. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit tricky. Sherman finds a Stück here. Yeah, see this is the power of the Sherman. This is the power of the Sherman. Easily gets a kill. Fast aiming time is so good. I'm not even sure. I don't think this was... it could have been a side shot. I think it was one. Ah. Preemptive strike here by the Focke-Wulf. Meanwhile, the IG-33 up here was bombed a while ago. If you have seen, I think we could see the bombs dropped. That's about it. Rifle spear gets wasted, Hummer gets wasted too. True, he has all the Hummers to deal with the light armor, to deal with some of the good infantry. We now have the Ditchmas protein. Finally, something in the church tower, by the way, which wasn't there for quite a while. We can actually check real quick. That makes a big difference. Let's see what Herr Robert sees. Herr Robert sees basically nothing. Let's see what Avalser sees. Avalser sees, okay, not actually that much. He still sees some units. I guess one of the big reasons is that everything is hidden in buildings and he hasn't, like, had a chance to spot it. The church tower doesn't change that. You can see further with the church tower, but if these units haven't revealed themselves, they're super stealthy in the church tower, so it's not really changing. We do have, by the looks of it, something big in. Yeah, the Lorraine is here, and it's being put to work. We could see that here, we can see that here. 120s are being resupplied, currently sitting there idle, not doing much. 12-12, and it is just a massive grind. One of the reasons why I like to cast this map when it pops up occasionally, but I probably wouldn't cast it more than that. If it were played more commonly, I would not cast it more often, because it's just painful to watch. We have the Decima DT now coming. These are actually pretty decent for town fights. I think the regular Decima are probably better for town fights because they have more range power with the MG42. I think we have one more Beretta, which actually makes it pretty decent. So I think from what I've read from other people, and what I also think is that it probably sets each other off, because this you can use in CQC, but you have one less Beretta. The MG42 is better at range, but you also, one more Beretta is probably as good as the two Beretta here at CQC range. So overall, the regular Decima are probably better because they're at least as good as this at CQC, but better at range. But yeah, anyway. I think the other one just has an AT grenade. This one has a Panzerfaust, which I think is better. So there's an argument for that. But regardless, both of the Decimas are pretty decent for town fighting. Because yeah, they have this hybridness and they have the 150-meter range, which matters a lot because, first of all, it means you shred a little bit more up close, but also you might still be able to, you know, there's some places here in towns I can't find a good one where he's slightly above 100-meter range, and now the SMGs can actually still be used. You can use them for the yellow cover a little bit, which you don't have enough in this town. But, you know, there's still some areas where this actually matters. And all of a sudden, it looks like Avalser is slowly just overwhelming Herr Robert. I mean, one of the problems that Herr Robert has here is just doesn't have good light armor in his deck. This is one of the big problems here. Now, the M3... here we have one. It's not bad, actually. It's good, but it is light armor that is meant to be dealing with other armor. And he's still there. Not a fuck wolf bombing happening. And it's not really meant to deal with infantry. It has a 50 cal, but it's a bit expensive for that. Sherman finds the Tiger, not a good find. Tiger still turning though, gets penned. Sherman also there. Now, see, this Sherman could maybe find a way to an angle to engage her and get another side shot off, but it looks like Herr Robert is not paying attention, and that's really bad here. You really, Sherman here finds the Tigers on the run as it fails to kill it. 17 pounder now coming in. Needs to be careful, but can definitely get the kill. Avalser is faster though and falling back. 30-11 for Herr Robert as he regrabs his flag again, killing whatever is there, or used to be there. But so yeah, this is the problem with the Tiger versus Sherman in the town. If you only have Shermans, it can be rough. You need to be on top of your micro, which is not bad. It's very possible, but it just limits you in how you play, and you have to pay way more attention, which takes resources, you know. And now the units are coming in. Now the floodgates are open. Now the Tiger coming in. That's going to be a problem, considering that Avalser hasn't really been able to deal with Herr Robert hasn't really been able to deal with the first one. Boston coming in. That's going to hurt quite a bit. Bombs are away. Boston is flying a little bit too close over the SDKFs at 7-1. 75 mils also there to help, but I don't think it's that good. But this thing has quite a bit better resilience than the Spitfire, so should still be able to survive. But there we go, next push coming here. This flag fallen 30-11 for Avalser as he regrabs the flag up north. Sherman stopping some infantry. This is again where the Sherman can shine, but there's just too... Yeah, there's just too many angles here. The Humber really is not that good again. Oh, it goes down to probably the Stug. But yeah, the Humber is just not that good at stopping infantry. It's not really made for that either. It's a great light armor killer, but that's not the problem at the moment. 17 pounder moving up, but it's going to get spotted by the Pentagram. It's going to be a problem. It's only 2 health, so it's probably going to die by this. Another push up north. We have Sherman 1 beast, 2 of them in. I think 2 is a little bit of an overkill. Now we have 114 in dealing with whatever's up there. But I think this doesn't matter. This is ultimately just a little side theater here. The main theater is right here in the town. This is where everything that matters happens. I think he's way over focusing this. I mean, he forced quite a commitment here by Avalser too, so maybe it actually works out. But considering that Herr Robert is under quite some pressure in the town, it's not actually that good by him. And this is where 17 bounds up here would be incredibly useful because, yeah, look at this tiger. Now Avalser starts to push into territory where he has to be very careful with these big cats because there's angles from outside the town. So this is, for most of the towns, this is where this kind of starts to matter. You have to be a bit smart. You can also not, while this thing can absolutely dominate here, you still or Germans can also absolutely dominate if they're not up against a tiger. You still have to be careful with where you position them. In most close areas, they can absolutely do whatever they want. But there's AT gun angles from outside, so you have to be a little bit smart about this. Tiger pushing forward again. Humber also pushing forward. Yeah, the problem with the Humber is really just cannot do much to stop these, right? I'm really actually curious what the bans were, because I think there's, yeah, the Allies get a lot of divisions that are probably banned. The second player 2 gets 4 bans, and player 1 only gets 1, because it's expected that player 1 just picks allies, honestly. And to offset that, because first of all, Allies has a better list of good divisions, or more good divisions in the list, but also has more divisions to choose from to begin with. To offset this, there is a difference in bans, but I think even after 4 bans on the Allied side, there's better divisions for this town than 8th Indian, I feel like. And at the same time, Tournament 15 is actually pretty decent. Maybe I'm wrong, so I would be curious to know what the bans were, but I feel like there must be better divisions left than 8th Indian. Because again, my issue with it is just, you know, you just have the Shermans, which is good, but you can kind of guess that your opponent's probably going to pick 715 if that one's open for this map, because I think it's actually pretty decent for this map. So you don't really want to deal with the Tigers. You just have Shermans. And again, the light armor is a big problem, because the Tigers would not be nearly as big of a problem if the infantry wouldn't be shredding. The problem is also that the infantry, there's just not enough infantry support, and the rifles alone don't do it. The Gurkha rifles are great for this. Regular rifles, not so much. Rifle speed are also decent, because while they're not good at stopping other infantry, they are good at stopping armor at least. And the armor here is part of a problem, right? But of course, Avalser is doing a good job at just keeping them back. I'm not even gonna do the talking about strategy, because there's really not that much you can do. You can kind of push up north. You can kind of push up south, down south a little bit. Red side has actually a better way to push it, because you can actually, or has some potential, because you can actually support this, like set up with some support weapons right here. Blue cannot bring any support weapons to really hold this later on. Also no AT guns or anything like that, because you will need to go this route, which you can get off from red side. So I think there's actually quite some potential, but you get 1 flag for it, and that's it. Meanwhile, in the town, there is a lot for grabs. There's these 2 flags that you can grab on a red side. This one is a little bit trickier. And then for blue side, yeah, these are grabbable. For red side, you can grab these 2. This one is a little bit trickier. This one as well. So, yeah. And now things just driving in very close. Actually, need to be very careful with the Shermans now, because this thing might just be able to hop in. It's probably going to kill the Humber there. Could even get a kill on the Sherman if it just hops into the building now. Busy fighting the rifles at not machine gun range. That's actually not ideal. Oh. Oh no. His own artillery stops it. That's sad. Would have wanted to see that. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Shermans are great at shredding infantry, but fortunately, you need some light armor. The Humber is light armor, but it's not the light armor that you need. It's, I mean, if you look at it, it's 5 points cheaper than a Stuart, but the Stuart has actually quite some pinning power with all the regular machine guns that it has. So that really matters. Strict and German trade, but not a good fight. Not a good fight. Boston going in with not a bombing run, but finally gets killed by the SKF Z71, which is now a little bit closer, and 75 mil still helps. So that's it's not looking good for Herr Robert. No, I think he's been heavily outtraded. I would say it's mostly really coming down to the fact that he has nothing efficient to deal with all the infantry, and the infantry of 715 being quite a bit superior to that of the Indian. And then on top of that, of course, he has not paid attention to his Shermans and lost some of them to the Tigers. Oh no, not a plane down. That's gonna hurt. And the artillery, I think, matters as well, right? We do have the Lorraine that is just an absolute unit. The 120s that at this range are actually quite dangerous as well. And they have been firing for a long time. The 114s are in as well, and they are responding, but they have not been doing that for quite a while. So it took a long time for them to actually get online. Now Tiger push here as well. This can easily be stopped by 17, but this is a good spot to defend, actually, kinda. You can put like 17 pounder here and just hold that. Even a 6 pounder might be able to do it with the APCR if you put it in the right spot, but there is none. So, or up here might actually even be better. 17 pounder like up here or up here. Definitely stop that, but we have yet to see it. 15-9 off all of a sudden, as this flag is being wrapped. This one is soon to fall as well by the looks of it, if the Panzer moves forward just a bit. Infantry here again being stopped. So the Germans are doing a good job at stopping infantry. The problem is really just you need light armor that is cheaper to do the trick. Germans are good to stop infantry. They're good at stopping infantry, but you want to use them combined with your infantry to deal with other infantry and light armor and the whole package. You don't want them to solely deal with infantry. They're not meant for that. Just too expensive. And 120s are just absolutely pinning everything that's there. This is the other thing, right? As soon as you grouped up like this is a prime target area for a 120. You just don't need to be accurate. There's so much here. You're gonna hit something, another Boston down. That's free, and they're not cheap. The 114 has also been pinned, I think, by the armor blob there, and all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, finally, Robert surrenders. 2120 to 4415. Yeah, definitely felt like that. I mean, Herr Robert was being pushed back hard, and Avalser was absolutely killing it. Let's look at the chronology. Quite some pressure early on, but then immediately responded by Herr Robert. And then kind of mixed, but look at that. Look at all those kills. And some of these were expensive units, like 17 pounder, 2 Shermans. 120 getting some kills already. Not a kill by the 120. And there was a bit of revenge time. Yeah, too many Tigers killing Shermans, I feel like. That's definitely part of what added up. And it's just all the way. Look at the Lorraine go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 kills within roughly 2 minutes. That's actually pretty good. And another one. Yeah, I want to see that kill list, and then here it continues on. I mean, here we definitely already could see the trades being bad, and it's kind of, you know, once your trader being bad, it's really hard to get back into the game. Your opponent with more things on the map is just likely to get better trades, as he has more things can really deal damage, and that doesn't matter. So let's look at the kills. Yeah, I think that's probably part of what happened. I think the off map. So off map on this map is actually pretty good because it's hard to push the town otherwise. The problem is you kind of need to be able to make ground, and as a consequence of the off map, get good trades, right? Either from you in, if you then get a position that your opponent needs to push back and he doesn't have off map, then you can actually trade better as you defend. But in this case, because of the unit mismatch, this was not really possible. So the off map didn't really pay off in that regard. If you can force your opponent out of a town where it's really hard for him to get back in, you actually kind of trade ground for points, which can also be okay. Unless there's too big of a deficit in point, but in this case, it just was neither of those two scenarios. And so you can also sometimes pay off by killing and surrendering things, but I also don't feel like this was happening here. So this just didn't really pay off at all. Sherman here. This is what you want from Sherman in the town. So that's pretty good there. Spitfire doing some work as well early on. Some more kills. Gurkha rifles are actually pretty decent as well. They're a nice hybrid unit, but the problem is they just don't have the CQC strength. They have some of the Thompsons, which are pretty decent, but they don't have more than that. Boston didn't actually do that much. On the other side, MG42 early on actually did quite a bit. 20 mil did quite a bit. The Marder is such an efficient unit. It's not that much more expensive than the M3, which is a really big problem. Wow, even killed one of these. Oh, killed 17 pounder. That's rough. Essex set 7-1, killed 3 Bostons. They're all above 100 points, so that's really expensive. Yeah, look at the Tiger. Look at the Tiger. I think Herr Robert made a big mistake here by not focusing that in any way. And he was not paying attention to a lot of these units. And that's the thing about Shermans in towns. If there's a big cat there, which usually isn't, but sometimes it may be like in this case, you really need to macro them. You really need to be paying a lot of attention. That was just not happening enough here. It was also rough because he didn't really have to meet to stop the infantry waves. So he kind of needed to use Shermans for those. Was just in a rough spot. The 120 actually didn't do that much. It just killed those 2 units at the start, but it pinned a lot, which matters as well. Focke-Wulf did some decent work. Panzer 2 did some work. Luftwaffe Jäger also not a Stück. Doing pretty decent at 20 mil, killing the Spitfire and some infantry. Yeah, look at the Lorraine go. 17 pounder, Gurkha leader actually, Sherman, Crusader, and the Humber. That's pretty good. Not a Stück doing Stück things here. 75 mil actually better than I expected as well. Kill a Spitfire. Kill a 17 pounder too. Not a Lorraine. This one is a little bit disappointing, but that actually came out very late. I didn't even notice that it was there. Not a Tiger. And that's about it. Yeah, pretty clear, I'd say. But anyway, it was an interesting game for sure. Hope you enjoyed it as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day and see you next time.